either make sense of them or whatever. But everybody's entitled to his opinion. But I am convinced that they will all be speaking from expert point of view. So this morning, we should take about 45 minutes or even less. My panelists are seated, as you can see. They are not from space. They have been with us from the beginning to now. They are our own people and they understand the issues. So from my immediate left, we have Dr. Gloria Techidonko. She is currently the head of department at my library, Samjona Library. She is the head of client service department. Welcome, Dr. Gloria. Next to Dr. Gloria Techidonko is another colleague of ours, and Professor Emmy Van Square is a visiting scholar a Fulbright visiting scholar to some journal library. She's been with us since January, and I'm glad that she's very keen in supporting us. She has developed some webinars and training program for library staff. Very soon we'll announce them. And she's here to support those of us who are in do our PhDs, MPhils, or research to strengthen our research capacity. Yes, and we felt that she should be part of this conference, and she gladly agreed to attend.
I think you did not
she's
get
here to also share thoughts on the issues that we are coming to discuss. Professor,
I think you got the information wrong.
Next to
I
Professor,
have it already. I designed it, so we're supposed
to
see them. You want to print them. I think this one can print like. Was it?
Edwin, sorry, Edwin.
No, I'm forwarding it.
Doctor is one of our colleagues. Just that he's trying to change it. He is also a product of the
I forwarded it already.
Visa. And currently,
and check the date too to be sure. Starting from 16th May now.
It's not in the library. So maybe you tell me why he's there. So Doctor was here to moderate some 2 sessions, and he accepted to be with us this morning again on this panel. Doctor, thank you very much. The one thing about it, anytime you call him or anything, he doesn't give excuses. He was at my university last year as a resource person on records money. Doctor, thank you very much for always being there for us. Yeah. So the topic that we are going to discuss briefly
in my university that find out what the student come to do in the library these days, so that we don't have a library that is only a reading room. The students just come and read, but they do not use the resources in the library. That is what I fear the students will do most. Just recently, WhatsApp, now belonging to Meta. Meta is a company that has Facebook, etc. They have launched their AI on the platform. Before that, when we did this, the survey, we realized that the students were no longer using WhatsApp. Snapchat was number one. Then we asked ourselves, what is happening? How come the students are moving away from Snapchat? Then we realized Snapchat has an AI. So they were comfortable chatting, and they were comfortable whilst you are sitting in class. If you ask a question, they are on Snapchat, and then they give you the answers immediately. I'm sure Meta learned from that, and immediately they launched their AI recently, which gives you information about, if you are looking for, sometimes we miss out something in a group chat. Okay, now if you use the AI, it's able to retrieve that information from you, even if you have deleted and somebody kept that information within the group chat. Okay, so this is where our students are, or this is where the people we are providing the service for, this is where they are. And as information professionals, that means that is where we ought to be. That is where we ought to be. How do we get there? We need to understand the technology very well. For us, the issue of remaining relevant, for us to remain relevant, one of the things I have seen, so if you use any AI, and for us, our challenge is generative AI. The pressing iron I use at home has an AI. It has no regulator. It's able to determine the fabric, and then it releases a type of heat. So AI has been there for a long time. But that is not generative. What is scaring us today is the generative AI. Okay. One that is able to generate content as if somebody did it. Google, search, etc. Their era is gone. They give you where you can find the content. The AI generates the content by what you are asking to do. But the source of the content is always a problem. The quality of the content is always a problem. So if you're a librarian, you can assist students or faculty or your users to use AI better. To use AI better. What do I mean? The data that the AI depends on is usually data that is open. Somebody asked a question yesterday about Emerald, and it gives you only the abstract. Okay, so it means that if a content is being generated and it finds the source in Emerald, it will not be able to penetrate to Emerald because at that time there is no connection. There's a restricted access. What does it mean? It means the AI is depending on only abstracts. It's dependent on bloggers' content. Can you imagine that? You ask a student for an essay and the blogger's content without any references, which is not authoritative. For us in academia, we depend on peer review content that has been tested and has some kind of quality. So to remain relevant means we need to understand how this technology works, and we need to use them so that we can support. If you are providing a service and people are asking, if students come to the library and they are not asking questions, they are just saying there is something wrong, especially when our library probably has the fastest internet. You are helping them to get access to information that cannot be verified, that has no validity, and is coming from all kinds of sources. So that is how we have to remain relevant, by understanding the technologies and being ahead of them. I'm sure the others have something to say.
So I think that's quite insightful. I'll come back to you anyway. But Professor Vansco, and I'm speaking. I know you have some experience with working in the libraries before joining the faculty. And don't get me wrong, if you people teaching think that once you become irrelevant, you also become, it will extend to you. But nobody will come to the libraries. So you should also be concerned about librarians remain relevant because it has some repercussions on you. But what are your views about this topic? The relevancy of libraries in this current era of technology?
Yeah, I don't see relevance as really a question. I think that we have always been in this field at the intersection of information and technology and people. So that really puts us in this unique position to deal with this technology, but also to think about the people issues, which we know are coming up fast and furious with our students using ChatGPT for papers and that sort of thing. So I think that this is the whole AI is such a amazing possibility. It's a time that we can explore and we can do things faster and easier, and it can level the playing field for students who maybe whose writing isn't as good as other students. So there's just so much that um, AI and ChatGPT can do, and we're comfortable with technology. So this is something for us to do, to play, to explore. And all the papers that I've been listening to for the last few days, and you're exploring what people are doing and how we can use this. And I think that's something that we have always done. When Wikipedia came, we explored that. And at first, we were kind of skeptical, but then we're like, okay, this is good for background information. Second Life came around. I don't even know if people in this room remember Second Life, but libraries explored there too, and we realized that wasn't really something that was going to help with our service. So once again, this is something for us to explore, to play with, and see what we think. But one thing that librarians also have is really good critical thinking skills. And I think we can put those into action with AI. Our skepticism, our thinking about, well, what's really going on with this technology? And what are the biases inherent in this technology? And the values that we have for privacy, for access, we can ask these kinds of questions. What is ChatGPT, these large language models, where are they getting their data from? What data are they getting? Are they getting data only from certain continents and not from others? And the access issue, if some students can pay for the premium ChatGPT and other students can't afford to do that, there's issues there that librarians are very attuned to. So I think our combination of comfort with technology, excitement with what's the latest technology that we can put into play, along with our skepticism and critical thinking skills and our values, I really think we're in a unique position to be exploring this AI and also being at the table for developing policies um, and and trying to educate the public.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Techidonko, yes, so my concern now is what do we do to remain relevant? And I want you to address the issue that our first speaker, our first kiddos brought out, that I have my views about it, but that very soon our library spaces will be turned into coffee shops and mini guest rooms, guest houses, or whatever. I believe that the university library still remain the only unit of the university that provide learning spaces. Because the lecture halls, usually they are locked during exams. They're not even open. So students don't have anywhere to learn. And from experience, you come to, and we all experience this during examination, our libraries are full to the brim. And it's quite worrying. So if we begin to think that the library spaces, the learning spaces are no more relevant, I have an issue. I don't know your thoughts about this.
Thank you very much for the question.
To remain relevant, to still keep those huge buildings that we have. So
Okay.
they don't turn them into hostels.
Learning spaces are very important in libraries these days. And for me, it is one of the wonderful things that librarians can leverage on, then build on onto greater heights. Why do I say this? I say this because learning spaces like marker spaces are what attract users to the library. Learning commons like research commons and knowledge commons attract users to the library. Then we have social learning commons that also attract users to the library. And so we need to know the needs of the users. User needs are not only embedded in print materials, they are not only embedded in computer technologies or AI technologies, they are also embedded in learning spaces. And so librarians should rethink how they can redesign their spaces to fit in so that they do not become obsolete. And then what we do at UCC is that we are creating learning spaces that will attract users to the library. We have seen that we have to be more proactive because users think that they have their iPhones, they have smartphones, and so they don't leave libraries anymore. And so we have these learning spaces that brings them together. And the main idea of these learning spaces is to foster collaboration. Collaboration between supervisors and their students, collaboration between students and their colleagues, collaboration between librarians and users. And so these spaces are, wonderfully designed. And so you always want to be in these spaces so that you can share ideas with your colleagues, with your supervisors, and then with other people. We also have a service called the Human Library Service at UCC. I think we are the first to bring forth this kind of service in Ghana. This service is such that users come to the library to meet high-profile personalities of the university. And so we bring the former pro-vice chancellor of UCC to the library to engage with students on the discourse in learning how to learn when it is difficult to learn. That's a very attractive topic that brought a lot of students to the library and even faculty members and people from outside the university to come and listen to the professor. And I bet you, these are some of the things that we are doing to stay on top of our job. You don't have to wait for people to come to us. Now we have to go to the users with what we want. I remember I had a radio show with my boss on air. Immediately we came back to the library, I entered my office, wanted to get some fresh air for myself. Then I heard a knock and somebody entered. It was one of my staff with some colleague lecturers. And I was like, I just came from the studio, I need some space. And they said, Madam, the lady is saying that she wants to see and talk to the person who spoke on air. So I had no option than to receive them and give to them what they were looking for. So these are some of the things. We make ourselves relevant wherever we find ourselves. We don't need to wait for the users to come searching for us, but they do not even know what we carry. We know our worth and we tell our own stories. So wherever we find ourselves, we should be able to make ourselves relevant. My boss asked me to go on the graduate school board meeting. After the meeting, I exchanged my number with one of the lecturers. He was supposed to be the provost for School of Medical Sciences. I was just there one day when I received the letter, and I was like, medical school, who do I know there who will write me this love letter? So I opened the letter, and it was an invitation by the provost to offer an orientation for his postgraduate students. And I was surprised. And I went back to think, and I realized that the way I positioned myself, the way I carried myself in that meeting, and the discourse that went on is what attracted him to me to offer me that opportunity. So please, colleagues, the onus lies on us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing your personal experiences on this issue, because I've always said that nobody can look down on me anywhere. I've always said it, and I will not allow you. So we have to be assertive and ensure that we also carry ourselves very well. Now, Dr. I'm moving towards what we really have to do. And one of the things that we haven't done as librarians is we have not communicated or created enough awareness as to what we are doing, what we do. People still don't know what we do in the library. No, people are high places don't know what we do. So I just want your views as to this issue about our relevance or irrelevance as librarians, as information professionals. How do we position ourselves? How do we communicate our story? How do we tell our story about what we do so that people will really appreciate our relevance?
Thank you. So again, some few experiences. Traditionally, when we have new entrants during orientation, we take them in a tour in the library, show them what we do, the various sections in the library, they ask questions, and some of them we may never see them again till they graduate, or probably when they come for graduate studies. I learned something from the university library at Stellenbosch University. That's probably 13 years ago. And the Dr. Sam Jones' description of the library becoming a coffee shop. 13 years ago, the Stellenbosch University Library had a coffee shop in the library. So that is already uh, already happening. I visited University of Johannesburg. The same thing. They have a floor where it's almost like a nightclub in the library. Yes, a session. And we ask questions and they explain. And it makes a lot of sense why the library is like that. So we'll get into that. But answering your question, some of the things we can do. I think in this era, we need more subject expert librarian and faculty librarians. It's very important. So if you take my university, for example, we are business law, mainly social science. These days we are veering into other areas. So you may need people who have specialized in providing library services for, say, medicine, IT, law, etc. That uh, reduces the gap and kind of make service very close to faculty. Okay, I see in our university statute, faculty board, then there is a librarian as a member. Then I realize that it is one person who is attending this meeting for all the faculties. We are not creating that kind of closeness with the various faculties. You hardly may see bulletin. I don't know about all other universities, but once you have people who are focusing on subjects in the various faculties, then you are creating that kind of closeness to the commons. The commons for me should not only be a place where we provide internet services. If you are not careful, your commons will be like that, where, oh, there's a computer, there is internet, and then people come to the library to do some things that are outside the services of the library. So that has to be looked at. This is where the issue of emergent technology comes in. So if you have people who understand what kind of needs, the user needs of either faculty or students, and they come to the commons, you can aid them to identify specifically. I started an example with having all kinds of sources. So if you understand what happens in the classroom, and all this information is available, you understand, and these days, all the universities are using LMS. You have access on the LMS, and you can see even assignments, reading lists, etc., and specific topics. If you go into that area, we are making ourselves more. And you like my first thing my PhD supervisor asked me is, have you had a meeting with the department librarian? I said no. So you have to even go and visit her before we discuss your topic. And when I visited her, she had a list. I had to. It was about 2 weeks out and 1 hour each day from Monday to Friday. And all we were discussing is my topic and the materials that are relevant. So anytime I had to call her, I need to write on this. So, and I wasn't the only one. Imagine the number of, we came from one of the largest universities on the continent. You can imagine the number of PhD students, and each department has. So if we zoom to go after proactive information provision. That's what I call it. We do more of reactive. We are waiting, we set up, we are waiting, and then when something happens, if we are proactive in identifying the needs, you see a student coming to the library, moving up and down, they get frustrated. It's like when you search on Google, I ask my student this question. So what happens if you search and you don't find what you are looking for? Say, now we use our own head. That's how they say it in the Ghanaian context. We use our head to write. The information is there, and you need an information professional to assist the the users in getting the same thing. Faculty is developing context for an article, etc. You have the source, you know where they are. So if we focus more on subject specific librarianship or faculty specific information provision, we are making ourselves more relevant. The last one I'll talk about is involvement with university governance. Usually you see sometimes IT people, like they are not really interested in organizing. How many library members are executives of the unions? You may not, they may be very few or none. How many IT persons are executives or members of the various unions? I don't know why it's like that. If we get into university governance, I sit on a lot of accreditation committee, and then if you bring somebody from the library, the person sits throughout the meeting, the person doesn't say anything. You are not making yourself relevant, and they are discussing issues. They are waiting for when the panel says, okay, let's now go to the library. Then the person is only a tour officer. Meanwhile, we've been discussing subjects, we've been discussing context, and you have, again, if you don't understand the subject, it's very difficult for you to make contributions. So that is why I say we have to zoom in more into subject-specific librarianship and also faculty librarianship. Other universities do that, and if we adapt that, we'll be more relevant. And then the changes with technology, the changes with space, the changes with all those things will still remain relevant. Thank you.
Very much. Before I go to prop, I think we are sharing experiences. When I moved into University of Cape Coast, you know, I come from a CSR background. Then I moved to Methodist University, just about a small private university. All of a sudden, I was in a very big university, and some of them said, "Ah, it's from Methodist. What experience is it bringing here?" So my first formal meeting, was an academic board meeting, and they had brought a proposal to establish a pharmacy program, and everybody was shooting it down. Like everybody wanted to shoot the. So I raised my hand and said, I'm surprised about their behavior, because I thought it is a strategic plan of the university to bring this program. So if they are bringing it and there are issues, we should show the issue to the people to go and work on them and bring it back. Why are we people that as if the program belongs to everybody? Who is this? Who is this man? Like, what they are doing, they don't even know me. They were surprised. So I took them on the program, and the PC agreed. And everybody said, Liberia, what are you doing? So we have to always be assertive and make our points. Don't go to a meeting and sit down without contributing. Right, because of the time, we have very limited time. So, Professor Vasquez, coming from the library school, Professor Vasquez comes from University of Department of Information Science, University of Buffalo, New York. So, from what Monica said and all that we are hearing, how would the library schools inculcate some of these skill set that were mentioned, and many others that, for me, the 21st century core competencies? How do we change our curriculum to reflect the needs of librarians?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we need to remember about LIS degree programs is they're just a foundation. Somebody said that earlier in the conference, and so much of what librarians learn, the development of their expertise, is on the job, their own lifelong learning. So really seeing those programs as the foundation. So maybe you don't learn all 125 of those skills and dispositions that we learned about. But I think that programs can set expectations for what learning will be like, for how to prepare for the unknown future that their graduates are going to encounter. And I think the first thing is lifelong learning. We talked about that. Dr. Monica did talk about that. But learning that you don't learn from a teacher. You learn from the literature. You learn from your colleagues. You learn from your experience. And I believe in a really strong grounding in information behavior theories and models, because when it comes right down to it, we're in the service of helping users and clients and students and faculty. So understanding that there are models and structures and ways to learn about how people use information, how they seek it, how they think about it. And those models may change over time, but you can, but knowing that that information is out there and that can actually inform practice, I think that's super important. And then the technology courses, almost as soon as someone graduates, that technology is irrelevant. But more so becoming comfortable with technology, understanding how to be skeptical of it, what questions do you ask of it, learning the language so that you can talk intelligently with vendors and your IT staff. And so this combination of comfort and ease with technology, along with a good grounding in information behavior, so that you can flow with the various futures that you'll encounter.
We have only one set of them. Sorry, I have to. So, one thing that we have not discussed throughout this book is about users. Even if you look at the American stuff, it was a bit about users. Yeah. So, you don't have to look like it's just about ourselves. We are concerned about our users. Because if we get all these skills ourselves, we deliver the service to them, and we leave them out, believe me, it won't work. No matter how much technology you know yourself, if your users are not trained, oriented, brought along, carried along, you will not achieve much. So what the question I want to ask you is that, we know that our users also miss out on these skills. So how do we handle this? How do we also ensure? And for them, I know we already have our information privacy programs. It's fine, but I don't know how to do it. So what kind of setup do you want us to have as librarians? Educate and train our users.
Okay, for me, I believe that first of all, we have to adapt to change, because change has come. And so when we adapt to these AIs, we learn how they work, we will be in a good position to educate users. Yesterday, we had several platforms that were given to us by our presenters. For example, the Future Learn, the Lit Maps, the Insightful, the Sorcery, the LSET.com, and then the Menti.com. These are nice resources that we can learn ourselves and then teach our users how to use them, because we are all concerned about their attention towards AI. AI is good, but what is the ethical use of it? And so we should learn these platforms because they are good sources that users can use to do their work. And then also, we also have to talk to management. A number of times, we leave management to make decisions for us. We complain a lot that they do not offer our request to us. But I beg to differ, because I have worked with a provost who became the vice chancellor, and in one way or the other, I was able to acquire 8 computers, 1 laptop. Because the moment I was posted to that college, I went to see him. I told him my objective and then the strategies that I want to use to achieve my objective. And God being so good, he was an educationalist and he loved ITs. He said, Madam, go and write and bring. So I went to write my proposal. I sent to him. We sat down. We discussed. So when he saw the way I was going, he told me, if you need anything, don't go to the accountants. Come to me. So that established a relationship between us. And I was going back and forth with him. We did a lot of things at that point. So please, we should be bold enough to engage management so that management will know our value and then they will offer our request to us whenever we ask for them. The one thing at the University of Cape Coast that we have done is about the University Gallery, user education, University Gallery. Once you enter the gallery, it tells you everything about the university, right from the inception to the current state. And so when users come there, they get fascinated. How did you get the idea? How did you go about this? It's all about us being proactive and loving our users. You know, yesterday we learned about user success. We have all the resources, but if our users fail in the end, in the midst of all these resources, what have we done as information professionals? So please, let's beef up the game.
Thank you, Dr. Tisidongo. And this is the last set of questions. And Dr. Ayino, yes, so if I heard you right, your position is that libraries will remain relevant even in the means of those technologies. I think that's an emphatic yes. Yes. So I also want to hear you about what do we do in terms of communicating this to our authorities, the general public. What do we need to do to remain relevant? I think it's an important question for others.
I wish I have all the answers to that question. Okay, so it starts with planning and strategy. Sometimes I go through the university's strategic plan, and the implementation itself requires that various units, in this case the library, should have their own strategic plan and specifically what they need to achieve. So it starts with planning what a university library wants to achieve. Say the presentation by Dr. Peter Tobin, he mentioned in the era of the fourth industrial revolution. So in the next 4 years, where do you want to see yourself as a library? What do you need to achieve? What are the targets that fit into the university's plan? In my university, for example, we are veering into more online or distance learning through asynchronous mode. So from the onset, what is the role of the library in achieving this model of blended asynchronous online learning? What is the role? Because it will definitely change the way the library is supposed to operate. So they must be part of this plan right at the foundation. If we wait until implementation, then we have issues. You are going to force the libraries to adjust, and that can be very difficult. So your planning should factor where your institution is heading towards. And I'm sure as all the librarian, your boss will definitely have the privilege of sitting in committees or boards that take some of these decisions, and you are aware, so you bring it down to your people that this is the direction. I saw something recently. Anytime we are looking for space in the university to keep things we don't need, you know where they think of? The library. and that's dangerous. That's dangerous. So if you are not part of the plan, and if you do not have your plan and strategy that fits into the overall vision of the university, you'll become a storehouse. So that's the first. Then two, learning new skills. Learning new skills. I think it's been mentioned over and over and over and over. There are various options to learning new skills. Again, it must fit into your plan. So, for example, how many people understand specific technologies? How many people have interest in providing, say, reference service or targeting graduate students, doctoral students, etc. So the skill set should be part of the library plan, identifying what is lacking and where we are going, so that you identify specific people to be trained in those areas. In my university, it's a big deal. At the end of, when we do appraisal at the end of the year, we look at the skill gap and whether you've taken the skill. If you are in my unit and you attend a conference, even if it's for 30 minutes, you have to write a report and show how you can implement, how is it going to benefit us. So some of these, developing your human capital is very important. Then the third one will be our users. We need to understand our users very well. We need to understand our users. And it must not be a one-time orientation. It must not be a one like we do traditionally. Take them through first year and we may not see them until such a time that they are doing their project works, or maybe the master's level where they are doing their thesis, then they come to the library. So there must be a constant, I always, and when the library present their annual report, I want to see their user studies report, their user satisfaction report. What are the users saying? What, because that, if I'm the one who is spending the budget, I want to spend based on the needs of the users. So if I don't see that in your report, what is the justification for the items you need to procure? What's the justification for the space that you are using? What's the justification to say some people are working overtime? And it must reflect in your your visitation rates, in the access to the various and the demand for. Otherwise, we turn on the lights, we turn on, now that we have problems with electricity, the cost of electricity getting very expensive. You turn on air conditions, and then there are only 5 people. Your user service must support some of these decisions. So we need to understand our users, we need to understand their needs, and that should be done through a very scientific process. And also having time as part of the planning of the academic calendar. I don't think academic board will refuse when the librarian says in the middle of the semester or twice in the semester, they want to have access to classroom to speak to students, to engage them about their difficulties, to understand what they need. So for me, these are the 3 areas that if we focus on, it can help us remain relevant, and not just remaining relevant, providing the services or fulfilling our mandate as information providers in the universities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Prof, because of time, just briefly, what are your thoughts as to how those of you who are in the faculties training librarians and information scientists, some people have the view that there's no collaboration amongst us. There's no formal way of collaborating. For instance, one of the skills that was also left out is negotiation and licensing skills. It's very important. All these people that you see around here, if you don't have it, you go and throw money away. You understand? So, what is the how do we get along it? How do we I wish we have a framework for collaborating amongst the faculty and those who are practicing, so that you get a feedback from us as to the kind of librarians we want you to train for us? Can you just speak to that? Yes, police. Okay.
Sorry about that. That's my question. Yeah, I'd like to do that through my own research. I study librarians, so of course for me I'm always learning what you all are doing and what's important to you and what kind of challenges you're encountering. But I do think there needs to be more practitioner researcher collaboration. We always talk about the theory practice gap or the research practice gap, and that just shouldn't be there. There's definitely, there's people who do both research and practice, but then there's the folks who have these separate areas of expertise can come together and researchers can focus on problems of practice, or practitioners can inform theoretical and conceptual research. I just think that's an important synergy, so that we're never losing touch with what's going on in either area. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So, Gloria, maybe finally, I believe that most of us here are the professionals. Am I right? Most of us here, I know, maybe we have a few. I don't know about that. So, if we don't take time, and that's your question, and we over concentrate on just training the professionals, we the librarians, the professionals. I know you know what I'm talking about. The e-resource librarians, the cataloging, and we leave out the front decks or the front those who are the front line. Usually we don't care about them. Our training programs don't cover them. So I'm just asking Gloria. In fact, if you come to my library, for instance, there are about 200 of them. We call them overseers, cleaners, those are the front desk, and the attitude, their behavior. How do we, because if we just concentrate on just training ourselves and we leave them out, believe me, we are still going to have a challenge. So what kind of training program do you think we should have for such group of people who work in the library as support staff or in various capacities? I'm expecting my driver who takes me around to know something about libraries and be able to at least have some skills to complement mine. That's what.
I think first of all, they all must be encouraged to educate themselves. Once they are in the library, they can't take up the library profession, go to library school, build out their minds and their knowledge, and come back and deliver. Because most of them do not understand the issues of the library. And there's no way anybody who don't understand what you are doing can support you effectively. So for me, I think training should go on, periodic training for them, and then also encouraging them to go to school so that they can build themselves in the library profession. Because the professor has said that if you don't have good customer relationship, it will be difficult for you to be in the front line. If you don't have good customer relationship, it will be difficult for you to engage with the users. Because some of our attitude drive the users away. And that's not our objective. Our objective is to rather draw them onto ourselves. And so I think going forward, we need to engage them, have periodic training for them, have discussions for them. As we are going back, whatever we have learned here, we need to share with colleagues back at home so that they will also benefit and then maybe in one way or the other have a change of mindset.
And I'm also of the view, and I'm speaking out of experience, that we have to begin to revise our job descriptions, because I've been in Cape Coast for close to 7 years now. I've never recruited a junior library assistant. Any space I get, and you know what I'm talking about. When you get a space, you want to go for a professional. So that group of staff are facing out. A lot of them have also gone to school and have upgraded, and some of us, that's why we even started, we are here now. So I can now count the number of junior library assistants I have. And I told my colleagues there that we have to revise some of the duties of library assistant senior to include what even the so-called overseers in our case do. Are you getting my point? So that we begin to take over some of the duties that they do as paraprofessional, whatever you want to call it. And that's something that we should be looking at. And one point I want to emphasize, and some of my senior colleagues are here, it looks like this point was made by a rep of GTEC who came to COOT meeting, and some of my colleagues are here, that when it comes to other departments in the university, public university for instance, the names are identical. When you go to a typical administration of a registry of the university, you have maybe department of or division of or director of HR, academic affairs, registry, administration. But in library, they have never understood our names. You go here, circulation here is a department, circulation here is a unit. So we need to sit down because that is confusing them. You understand? Somewhere, when I even mentioned that Department of Client Service, they say, what is that? You have a Department of Client Services? Is it? We need to sit down and synchronize these names so that, and it goes to the public libraries or public university libraries, so that when you go anywhere, you know that you see this department here. We do the same thing. I don't know what things about the name. Anyway, I want to conclude on this topic. I think for the sake of time, I will not be able to go around again. I am of the view, as a moderator of this session, I think the panelists have agreed with me that academic and registered libraries will remain relevant. And I like what others said in the past sessions, that technology has not come to replace our work. It has just come to enhance our work. And we will remain relevant. But we have to embrace the demands of our job, the changes. We have to look at the new generation of users that we have and tailor our programs, our activities, our work to meet their needs. That's very relevant. And we have to also build on our skills. And as we heard, acquire new skills. And I like what my big sister said. Don't go and learn everything alone and be jack of all trade, master of none. Everything is you alone. Every conference, you alone go. Every trade, you alone go. And you go and learn everything and nothing, we don't get anything out of it. Let's begin to specialize. We all have different skills. If you know it's cataloging that you can do well, why not? Go and build your capacity in cataloging and become a recurrent cataloger in our country. If resources that you like, I know that by our regulations you can't remain in one place forever. But of course, we allow you to be there for at least 4 or 5 years. Why not? Build your skills and let's share, let's all diversify so that we all come to complement the library as a whole. That's very important. And I also want us to begin to look at, because in the developed world, now we are having new areas emerging, scholarly communication librarians are coming up, and all kinds of things. And those of you who are still organizing training on customer care or client care, you've heard it, that is now success. It's no more even service, it's now success. And if I see any workshop on customer care, I won't allow any of my staff to attend, because customer care is it's like care is over. We have had enough care, so we have had enough services. So we are now moving to success. So I will know GLA, if you are here, any course on customer care, I'm not coming, and nobody will come. But if it's on success, I'll send as many as I can send. Then digitization. Our universities also have a challenge. You can see that the record management, some of you have, I know UG has a very strong record management system. Most of us don't have. My university don't have. Even the library is championing that, it's not our core work. So I was forced to give out some of my colleagues who have background archives to them to help organize it for them. So please, and there are many areas that we can help our universities just beyond the library. So let's see how we can remain relevant. But let's also try to modernize our spaces. It's very important. I thought we were the only one doing it. We are changing our spaces. I was speaking to the university librarian of Cincinnati University, and they were there in the meeting, some of you. She said they are also changing their spaces. So it's okay to, no, there's no money to put up new libraries for you, I know. Let's modernize what we have. Let's expand and modernize the spaces to meet the needs of our time. On that note, I want to thank my panelists for sharing their thoughts with us. I think that's been great. Thank you very much, and hope to also continue to support and have to support CARLIGH in the future. Thank you very much. Shall we give them a hand of applause? Shia, can you move up? And if come and support us. Come and support us on the right. Yes, please come and support us. Or if you prefer to be there, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. All right. So let's stretch for just 2-3 minutes. Don't go out. So we're going to have the last ceremony. Let's stretch for a few minutes. Miles. Is it not bad? Tell them, please, Miles. That was not the chair is forgotten. Don't go out. Don't.
The first thing is I wanted to do Wednesday. The Wednesday was so key. So just keep Sunday up to Sunday. Then the next day was so key. Then yesterday, by the time we go around, I think this is like 5 hours.
I know that's around 8:30. The traffic that I stayed in, I was so unhurried.